right-hand side. It's the blue Terran player, Maru.
And of course, in the top left, our red protoss from Team Liquid tying the series up is Harstem.
Maru's going for a triple Cyclone, a Viking, and double gas. I think we're going to see some mech here, actually.
Wow, yeah, the extra gases on the natural expansion. Well, Romanticide is like the one of the two maps that can really be okay for mech play in TVP at the moment. And what makes a map okay for mech play in TVP is quite literally, simply the ability to hold a third base with a couple of wall-offs and not really a lot of options for the Protoss player to attack in from multiple sides, right? And that's what Romanticide gives you. It's very hard for the Protoss to rotate around and catch you out of position because it's a huge rotation. And even if they come in from two sides, it's two ramps that you can wall off. And so it just allows you to get set up without going through the most, well, while going through the most dangerous stage of the game without being actually in that much danger, because it's the big kind of charge lot Blinkstalker bursts that really just put you into a lot of trouble as the Terran player when going mech.
Yeah, I was actually watching, I think maybe it was Piling versus Special yesterday, also on this map where Special went for a mech, together with Harstem, and they kind of argued, Harstem and Drogo kind of argued a little bit what you should do if you're ahead against mech. And it was obviously a little bit dependent on the situation, but Harstem said what he would like to do is just to go into very quick carriers himself. Especially if you go for a Robobay already, he thinks being aggressive is not the greatest option. So I wonder if we're gonna see that transition early on, because in theory, if you get to the carrier disruptor, it should be really, really strong against mech. So I think that's his end goal here for sure. But Maru's actually going for an early push, which we don't always see with mech. Very often we just see them sit back and relax. Oh, this was actually just a fake move out, so I think this is good for Harstem. I don't think Maru knows how fast his opponent is teching into the tier 3 path. But,
no.
Now it's going out again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a push makes sense when Harstem is trying to get him into carriers and so on. Disruptor shot's going to fire, though. Disruptor, for a moment, felt like it might have found some Cyclones as well. It's a lot of Phoenix that are caught at the moment, so, I mean, these Cyclones actually getting a lot of shots off. Phoenix taking a lot of damage, and now Harstem's got another Disruptor showing up. He's going to fire this one right away, and it's going to just find Cyclone. But Maru, if he starts to siege up these tanks, I mean, you're really waiting on these couple of carriers to get into play from Harstem to really turn this around. So it's coming, it's just not there yet.
Yeah, Maru is microing this really well. He's making sure that the Cyclones don't get too far forward into Colossus range, and he always locks on and then immediately goes back. And Harstem is also doing a good... one thing that is very important here, and he keeps poking the Terran army. He makes him siege, he makes him retreat a little bit. All he really needs to buy time for are these carriers, because there's not that much anti-air, or at least solid anti-air against interceptors here in this army. So I really like what he's doing here with the shield batteries, with the pokes of the disruptors. He cancels a turret here, he gets a Widow Mine. Oh, some lock-ons on a disruptor.
Yeah, just able to, well, push these back again. We see the Zealots obviously just try and be the fodder at the front as the first carriers are around. The Widow Mines might actually do a lot of helping against these interceptors or so, as we obviously see a first disruptor shot coming through in the Widow Mine. One of them gets cleaned out. But this position of Maru is only getting stronger at the moment with the turrets coming up, and that maybe puts some pressure on Harstem as he loses the disruptor as well. The Cyclones finding some use for themselves.
Yeah, I think it's very important for Harstem to use these disruptors on cooldown, slightly out of range of the tanks, because he can, well, first of all, he can outrange the tanks themselves, but he can also poke away of the turrets. So it's also very important. Like there's this dance going on with the Cyclones that try to keep the disruptors away from the Terran army, whereas Harstem is trying to get guaranteed damage. He gets a lock on a carrier and kills it, and that's huge. Carriers take forever to build, so getting one of those is very big.
Yeah, everything you can do to reset the carrier count is only going to make life easier for you. And now, especially when Harstem's only building 2 at a time, right? I mean, now he's going to start up a couple more. But when, you know, it really does just mean it feels like there's almost no difference. As one more carrier joins, as 2 more join the fray here, it actually only feels like 1 more for Maru. So it keeps the army in a similar state for longer, and maybe gives Maru's push that little bit extra chance of survival as Harstem. I like that he's getting a 4th base up to the side of this, though. There's no threat on that left-hand side just yet, so you may as well take the 4th. Don't let yourself get stuck on 3 bases. I mean, Maru has obviously not slowed down himself with his own economy. He's got his 4th base up and running quite nicely behind all of this. As Cyclones moving through, they now have that Macfield, and that really hurts on the sight on the disruptors, and Harstem gonna pause right there in game and continue this. As obviously Harstem sitting on these 4 bases, his 5th on the way up on that left side. Just gonna see a couple of Phoenix shots. Let's see if he can indeed continue to hold on. He's gonna poke forward again, just trying to find a chance for a disruptor to connect, but it gets in range of siege tanks. And now he doesn't really have any disruptors left. So what's he going to do to slow the Cyclones down? Well, he's going to try and lift up lift them up with the Phoenix, but taking a bunch of damage as he does it.
Yeah, Maru needs to be really careful. The moment he overextends too far, the Phoenix will lift him up, and his Cyclones will get killed. A nice Hellion run by here, killing 13 workers. Now, it's not the end of the world for Harstem. He still has 76 probes. But definitely a good run by, especially for minerals only. Those are very expandable right now. Expandable units for Maru.
Yeah, I mean, it really slows Harstem down where it costs Maru basically nothing. So it's going to be another moment in which Maru should be pretty happy with how this is going. I mean, this position has been set up for a long time now, and Harstem's still struggling to get rid of it. Another disruptor goes down, only really finds a Widow Mine. He's just not kind of getting enough anymore with these disruptor shots, and this is going to be a similar story. Gets a single Cyclone for the Widow Mine this time, but for the Disruptor this time, and now the Disruptor goes down again. A little bit of friendly fire off the mines as the Interceptors are going to come through once again, and maybe that has something to say. And actually, he's going to get rid of a few Cyclones here. These Interceptors, I mean, that is the big play, right? He's been building up the carrier count with the hope that eventually these Interceptors can get into enough numbers to just push back this Terran force and to maybe outmass Maru. And Harstem is going to max out against Maru's 170 supply.
He really lacked detection there. This was really good for Harstem. He got rid of a lot of Cyclones, and the Widow Mines were very exposed. The Interceptors could have cleaned them up, but he didn't have the mobile detection here at all. He doesn't even have a cannon here. So Maru is doing such a great job. Every single time Harstem goes forward and tries to get rid of the Widow Mines with the Disruptors, Maru goes forward and catches the Disruptors with his own Cyclones. But that carrier count is still growing, and Harstem is approaching the maxed out army. Now the question is, what do you do as Harstem? Do you try to actually just engage the army straight up, or do you go around? There's obviously these 2 options right now.
Oh, he's actually going to straight up lose that next as the Cyclone's getting that lock on. Unfortunately, the Disruptors had a couple chances to hit Cyclones, but missed both times. So these Cyclones are successful, and well, at least Harstem has the left side base, so he still has essentially 4 to mine from. He has somewhere for those probes to go to for a little while. Oh my god, again, Widow Mines just doing a little bit more than they really should be. You're right, I mean, imagine he just has the Observer earlier, cleans out a lot more of them. Now the Disruptor's starting to clear them out, but even an Oracle might not be so bad. I guess the Oracle goes down too quick to the Vikings, perhaps. I guess the Observer as well is kind of the issue. It's hard to keep detection alive in this scenario.
Yeah, I think Oracle for sure is the best, because you can actually outrange the Vikings, because the Revelation obviously has a radius to it. But yeah, he now tries to find a new angle at the bottom where there's not that many turrets done yet. And there's also not that many tanks at the bottom, so I like this approach a little bit better. He needs to watch out now! And
well,
2 Cyclones.
Yeah, at least he gets rid of the Cyclones this time, right? The previous issue is that the Disruptors keep getting blown up before they connect. Or they then kind of get a Widow Mine and the Cyclones get a Disruptor. But this time, the Disruptors kind of get a couple kills themselves on Cyclones, and anything to really, again, hit some of the bigger units definitely feels like a big win. As well, one of the carriers might go down here if the Vikings find another shot. They don't, though, and the Shield Battery heals these carriers back up. And now Harstem's going to kind of go into this again. Only a couple Widow Mines going off initially, and well, the turrets just don't. If turrets were the answer to Interceptors, we'd see them being used a lot more frequently when this becomes the stage, this stage of the game. The turrets obviously are kind of an aid, but they're not going to be the full-on answer, and you can just see that Maru's army just gets disintegrated here, and that's just the carrier count that Harstem's been able to build up to. He gets some detection, so he's now cleaning out these Widow Mines as well, and that is massive. He was really missing that earlier. This time he's going to clean out the front line of mines, and after what, 6, 7, 8 minutes, he's finally dislodged this position of Maru.
Yeah, Maru is now desperately trying to build more turrets to survive, because right now his army has no chance in a direct engagement against Harstem's. And this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. The Mech army just doesn't have the anti-interceptor clear that maybe a bio army would have. So if you get to that critical carrier count, one of the things that Mech obviously has is Aritors, but those are really bad against Disruptors. So he's trying to circumvent that problem with the turrets, but at some point the interceptor count just gets too high, and Harstem is actually on the offensive now.
Yeah, there's absolutely just a point at which these turrets just don't do enough, right? Like you saw how he just fought into multiple of them before, he fights into a lot of them now. Again, they're meant to be a supporting kind of unit, or a supporting structure, but at the moment they're almost being asked to do the entire job because the Vikings keep on running in fear, and I don't blame him for running in fear. Like, it's just gotten to be too many carriers. Maru needed to break Harstem much sooner than what he has done. And Harstem is looking as though in a few moments' time he might be able to start taking a lead in this series. And what a result and what a first series of the day we're getting here in Aces ROG is, I mean, base after base of Maru is now dropping. He's going to lose everything outside of his initial 3 bases. A bit of a Cyclone counterattack is not quite going to find one carrier either. And yeah, these bases just keep on dying. There was just no stopping this push of Harstem for now. Maru is really strapped for cash. He had to move his main and natural orbitals out to the right side of the map to be able to keep on mining. But that mining for now will get the job done if Harstem keeps giving up carriers for free.
He's getting the Twilight now. I really think he wants the High Templar attack against this amount of Vikings. I also don't think he realizes that he never got the Phoenix upgrade. Because in this game, he scouted the 3CC very early. So he didn't really need that many Phoenix. But against the Vikings, if you make the Phoenix, it's very important to have the range upgrade.
Yeah, I even thought he had it because it felt like he was going for that earlier as well when he had a lot of Phoenix. But you're right, he never really went for it as Maru makes another snipe on a base, gets to the front here, and wow, Maru was really making a play out of this. It really felt like he was in a lot of trouble coming off some of those previous fights, but making it happen, got one clear out, and that's apparently all he needed to build up enough units to keep on contesting and trying to keep Harstem pinned back as Maru is going to keep this position at the front. He's got some tanks here as well, going to make the ground army harder to utilize for Harstem.
Yeah.
As Harstem tries to get a mothership up, I'm not sure how useful that exactly will be. Obviously, the cloaking is nice to have in certain scenarios, but obviously a Terran that has, I guess, not endless scans, right? Because we're only really on 3 orbitals still, so yeah, maybe the cloaking's nice if the mothership survives long enough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go as far as saying Maru is coming back yet, because Harstem still is at his basically almost perfect composition, and now the Cyclones are overextending, so he's trying to lift up a couple of those, maybe shoot some Disruptors. Couldn't have timed it a little bit better, but I guess he was afraid of the Viking shots. So
yeah,
I think maybe you just sacrifice some bases while you're getting up Storm. These 0/0 Stalkers without Blink still running around.
Yeah, I mean,
a base.
yeah, the Stalkers are an interesting one. I almost feel like he wolfed them in, realized just how useless they are, and now he's like, well, what am I meant to do? Well, maybe not right-click a base. Maybe a few SCVs could have still gone down, but yeah, the Stalkers were absolutely not something that were a great addition. Man, Harstem's supply is struggling a little bit. 170, he's really out of gas. It's the biggest problem for him at the moment, and that's not going to be held by Hellbat's looking to deny this base up here. I mean, we're 21 minutes deep, right? So a lot of his initial bases are out of gas mining already. So he really is going to continue to struggle there, just as he wants to warp in a bunch of High Templar for storms against the Vikings.
Yeah, but I'm not sure about this army split by Maru. There's a lot of army here at the bottom that won't end up getting the base. Obviously, he's going to get the bases at the top for it, because Harstem needs to commit with everything to the bottom. But it is at least a little bit of the cleanup that Harstem needed.
Super Battery, he warps Stalkers in to try and help as well. The Super Battery still healing the Nexus as the Stalkers trying to clean up. Extra Hellions show up and he will get the base in the end and getting a lot more probes. Harstem is basically out of work because he's only got 35 of them remaining here. Harstem just has no idea that Maru is mining in the top right.
He doesn't know.
Like, he's had so many times where he could have gone there, and it's the only place that Maru is mining from. Like, he's only just now starting to CC in what was originally his fourth. Look why he's building that CC. Like, there's barely any money there. It's like, the CC costs almost like, okay, it's not super bad, but it's like, what, like 15% of what's going to be able to mine? Like, that's ridiculous.
He finally realized. Harstem just spread all the zealots around the bottom. He was like, how are you still mining? How are you producing units? Why are you not engaging into me? And now you finally realized at the top right, there's almost all of Maru's SCVs here as well, which are going to go down to the carriers as well as the CC. So the only CC that Maru has right now is the one that's being built freshly on the base that's almost mined out. At the same time, huge Hellion counterattack. Huge Hellion counterattack at Harstem's new base. Yeah,
Harstem's going to lose pretty much all his probes. He's got 3 remaining. The Phoenix come back up. I mean, it sounds ridiculous. I know Hellions are usually a unit you can give away, but right now they really aren't. You know, Maru just doesn't have that kind of money, so these Hellions going down is less of a... I mean, I don't know what else the Hellions are really going to do. I'm going to say less of a buffer maybe, but what are they really buffering for? Not really much. They're designed to go and kill the probes. Yep. Harstem rebuilds 4 immediately, so he's at least getting some economy set up, and he will defend that top base. If he just made that play sooner, Maru wouldn't have a new base, and then he would be forced to essentially all in.
Yeah, I think it's very, very hard for both players right now to judge if they need to attack or not, who has more economy. I'm pretty sure Maru thinks he has way more economy because he killed so much, and what he didn't know is that Harstem actually had a very nice 2k mineral bank a while ago that is depleted now, but both of them are basically going back to 1-based economies, and the problem is that neither of them can engage into each other, so it's all about who can rebuild quicker. Now, I think in general this should be a little bit better for Harstem because it should be easier for him to take new bases, but Maru still has a decent mineral income. Eventually he can also float his orbital, which is obviously good. But Harstem actually going in for the fight now.
Yeah, he's just gonna commit. I mean, he's killing off tanks, which I guess leads the way for the disruptors to move through, the High Templar to get forward.
Oh,
so it is important. Oh, that's it. There's no way to rebuild. Harstem, he's gonna. Oh my God, Harstem's taking the fight. But if Harstem just retreats, then Maru has to fight into him because Harstem's mine and Maru isn't. Harstem doesn't realize he's killed the only CC of Maru. Harstem.
No.
I mean, I don't know if you can disengage now. I mean, now he's realizing Maru's not rebuilt his base. He's going to back away. He's going to be like, wait a second. What if?
GG
And GG.
Maru can't beat the army anymore. He didn't have enough Vikings, especially without the turrets. There was no way. What a banger of a game.
Even Harstem's like, what? He GG'd? Like.